हृदि विषमनसा स्वम् देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तत भावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोऽहं भावयुतः कुतो वरधिया दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं. Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday Satsang from Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning, we will be reading from Guruvachaka Kovai. The two verses selected for us will be read in two segments. Each verse reading will be followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that shall be followed by a practice session of 10 minutes duration of Atma Vicharam. After these two segments of the reading, the meditation on meaning, and practice of self-inquiry are completed, today there will be a summing up by Sri Venkatesh Ji, and that shall be followed by the offering of Sri Ramanashtotram. The chanting shall be by Vaibhav Ji, and the floral offering shall be by Manjunath Ji from right here. We begin this evening's satsang by taking the first verse selected for us, verse number 644. Verse 644. As we have seen earlier, following the prefatory verses, there are three segments into which the book is divided: investigation into truth, meditation on the truth, and experience of the truth. This particular verse 644 we find in the segment meditation on the truth. The subsegment or subheading is objective awareness, and there is a title given to this verse under that subheading objective awareness. The title given is "Those who do not realize the truth will tarry and be lost in the play of Maya." Those who do not realize the truth will tarry and be lost in the play of Maya. We go into the verse reading. Verse 644. Swarupa, being consciousness, exists and shines uninterruptedly in the heart. Those who do not clearly realize it through subtle inward attention will tarry and be lost in the play of Maya through Suttarivu. which is the rising of the ego, the onslaught of extreme delusion. Swarupa, being consciousness, exists and shines uninterruptedly in the heart. Those who do not clearly realize it through subtle inward attention will tarry and be lost in the play of Maya through the Suttarivu, which is the rising of the ego, the onslaught of extreme delusion. So there are two sentences here. One is about the nature of the Swarupa, and the next is about how we may miss it and tarry and get lost in the play of Maya. So the first sentence is about Swarupa, the being consciousness. Irundu olir. Being is iruppu, existence. Consciousness is, of course, the awareness or consciousness that we all directly experience. So the Swarupa, the being consciousness is that consciousness which is aware of its own eternal existence. So therefore, that consciousness which is aware of its own eternal existence, how does it exist? It exists and shines. It is self-luminous. It is self-revelatory. We also find it is correcting in nature, self-correcting in nature, exists and shines uninterruptedly in the heart. There is no gap. In Upadesha Saram, Bhagavan says the nature of practice should be like the flow of water or the flow of ghee from one container to another. That means uninterruptedly. The sadhana should. Why it is so decided? Why it is so given as Upadesham? That our effort should be continuous, uninterrupted, because the nature of the truth is like that. Because the nature of the truth is unbroken. Therefore, our sadhana also should be unbroken. We see while doing puja, some other thought may come, some other mobile may ring, and we may pick up and answer, and all that. That is with breaks, probably. So most probably that is with breaks. Therefore, the sadhana has to be uninterrupted, is what is unbroken, is what is said in Upadesha Saram. Now, that is how the Swarupa exists. The Swarupa, the being consciousness, exists and shines. It is always existing and it is self-luminous. Uninterruptedly it is shining in the spiritual heart. That Spurana is uninterruptedly shining in the heart. Now, how can it be experienced? Earlier, from when we were reading in another satsang from the work Vichara Sangraham, it was said that why an impure mind, why a coarse mind cannot detect this Purana. The examples given were very interesting. Bhagavan had said that can we stitch a silk cloth with a crowbar? A crowbar is a huge instrument made of steel used to pull out nails, or the reference in Tamil is to something that is used to dig out earth by pushing this rod inside. Now, such a huge bar, can we use it to stitch a silken cloth? Obviously not. The silk cloth is so fine, the threads are so fine, much more finer than even cotton, that you have to use a very subtle needle, very thin needle and thin thread with different kind of strength, so that the silk cloth can be stitched. In the same way, another reference is given. Can we detect the small writings or a subtle matter with a hurricane lamp or with a lamp which is blowing here and there, whose light is wavering? Obviously not. When we are having a fine book with fine prints to read, Obviously, we need a light that is equally focused. That is why it is said that those who do not clearly realize it through subtle inward attention, this Purana cannot be experienced by the same coarse awareness with which we are able to see worldly things, with which we are able to hear worldly sounds. It is obviously not to be felt by coarse thoughts, emotions. When our mind is completely covered up with emotions, at that moment, obviously, the subtle spurana will not be visible, will not be felt. It is only with this, when the mind itself, when the attention itself becomes subtle and completely inward turned, free of the senses, the emotions, the mind, and the buddhi, that is when the independent existence consciousness, spurana, which is Deva Swarupa, which is Swarupa, is visible for darshan. That darshan can be had, that feeling can be felt only with a mind that is subtle, just as a crowbar cannot be used to stitch a silken cloth, just as a fine print cannot be read when the light used is of wavering nature. Similarly, with an impure mind that is caught up in thoughts, that is caught up in emotions, that is caught up in a sensory experience, cannot the subtle spurana, the existence consciousness of Swarupa, cannot be experienced. When that is not experienced, those who do not clearly realize it through the subtle inward attention, what they will do? They will tarry. Though they have listened to Guru Upadesham, though they have been lucky enough to come into a satsang, when they don't experience it, when they don't experience this Purana, the darshan of the truth, then they will tarry. Tarry means they will waver. They will waver between this and that option and this, because they have not yet caught hold of the truth. The anubhava of the truth has not yet come. So shall we take this option or that option? Is this better or that better? Which is all play of Maya. The comparison, the choices, this better than that, all those things are play of Maya, and we will get lost in that play of Maya. He says, because Maya is of the nature of objective attention. That is, the Suttarivu will be lost in the play of Maya through Suttarivu. Suttarivu is objective attention, which is the rising of the ego. How does objective attention rise? How is the self-attention lost in one sense? Because one rises and identifies with the body as I am this body thought. That is where the rise of the ego apparently separates it from the being consciousness and gets caught up in the play of Maya, in the play of objective attention, where one seems to be better than the other. You run and get it, then that experience being temporary, that is lost. Again, we run after something else and we tarry whether this mango is better or that mango is better, and we go and get lost in the phalama shashvatam. Whereas the indirect implication is that one should directly go inward, make oneself subtle and pure and free of these coarse experiences, so that inward spurana, the being consciousness of Swarupa, is directly experienced, and the onslaught of extreme delusion caused by the objective rising of the ego and the objective attention which it gives is stilled, is removed. By what? By making our own attention subtle, freeing the attention of all emotions. When we feel angry with somebody, when we feel jealous of somebody, when we feel the other kinds of emotions that arise, extreme pleasurable thought that comes, all those have to be inquired away and the mind made pure. The thoughts have to be inquired away and the mind made pure. The buddhi has to be inquired away and the mind made pure, so that which is purer than the purest, the existence consciousness, the Swarupa, is experienced. If you talk in terms of mind, it is experienced in the pure intellect. If we talk in terms of the erasing of the ego, then it is experienced by identifying with it. One identifies with this Purana and experiences the Spurana. Till then, till that Anubhava is there, one will tarry, one will waver between this or this experience or that in the objective area. Once this is caught hold of, once this uninterrupted being consciousness is experienced, then that net of grace has caught hold of the sadhaka, and the sadhaka is surely to be consumed in that net of grace, in that arul, in that self, which is Satchit Anandam. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in practice of Atma Ucharan, which is the direct method of purifying the mind. The erasing of the ego with who am I is the direct method of turning inward and making the awareness subtle, so that the rising spurana, the being consciousness, is directly experienced. Let us sit in Atma Ucharan for 10 minutes. Revatima, you'll be able to set the time for us?
Yes, Uncle, I'll do it.
Namo Ramana. We go on to the reading of the second verse selected for us, that is verse number 293. 293. This verse we find in the segment Investigation into Truth. The subsegment is Definitive Advice. Definitive, clear-cut, Upadesha or advice. The subtitle given is the Jnana experience of union Brahman. The Jnana experience of union with Brahman. Verse 293. Resolving the world of names and forms, an imaginary concept, is only a dream in which not even one of the many things perceived exists apart from the perceiver. Meditate on the blissful reality, the form of consciousness, without pursuing the world. There is a note. There are many places in the Guruvachaka Kovai where phrases such as the form of consciousness occur. See, for example, Muruganar's comment on verse 302 and verse 357. They are not to be taken to mean that consciousness has a particular shape or form. Rather, the phrase indicates something more akin to that which is wholly conscious, whose nature is consciousness. I'll read the verse again. Resolving that the world of names and forms, an imaginary concept, is only a dream in which not even one of the many things perceived exists apart from the perceiver. Meditate on the blissful reality, the form of consciousness, about which the note was there. The form of consciousness indicates that which is wholly conscious. Meditate on the blissful reality, the form of consciousness, without pursuing the world. Resolving the world of names and forms, an imaginary concept, that it is only a dream in which not even one of the many things perceived exists apart from the perceiver. So what is the test to see that this wide world, this huge world of multiple names and forms with great many subheadings, many topics, many areas of search, is nothing but a dream. Now, how the test that it is nothing but a dream, how it is resolved is very interesting. Bhagavan says that though it is of many names and forms, not a single name or single form can exist apart from the perceiver. Whenever you see something, let us say we see an ocean on the beach of which we are standing. Now, if we ask the question, for whom is this beach an object of vision, the answer will come, for me, the perceiver. If you see the farthest stars through the Hubble telescope or some other telescope, now that star, which is billions of light years away, can it exist apart from the perceiver? It cannot. Does it exist now apart from the perceiver? No. You are the perceiver of the star, therefore it has existence, that which existence is not apart from the perceiver. Similar is the case with the relatives, the friends that we see. Can they exist? Many a time in the talks, Bhagavan says about the world, does the world come and say that it exists? No, you, the perceiver, says that the world exists. Therefore, it cannot exist apart from you. That is the test for treating it as a dream. Now, Akka used to say in one of the earliest meetings that I can recall with her, sometime in the year 2007 or so, in those meetings itself, she used to say that there is a great advantage in understanding that whatever we see is a dream. The advantage that she used to recall as a practical advantage is that we can easily understand that in our dream, the dream is made of nothing but our consciousness. In whatever we dream, and she used to very happily recount the dream of one of our friends, Mr. Raghavendra. He himself doesn't know Sanskrit, but he has a dream in which he and his friend, they go and meet a Sanskrit scholar. The friend and the Sanskrit scholar are speaking in Sanskrit, and then at some point he awakens. Now he who doesn't know Sanskrit here, his consciousness has created his friend, another Sanskrit scholar, and a dialogue. And in the dream, he says to them, I do not know Sanskrit. Now, all that is made of Raghavendra's consciousness, or the consciousness is one in which the whole dream is formed. Similarly, this whole dream, because the test given to us is that how we can resolve this whole world of names and forms, that it is a dream. The test is, can even a single part of it exist apart from the perceiver? No. The whole of the waking state, the whole of the dream state, the whole of deep sleep state can exist only when the perceiver is there. The perceiver has to say that I was happy in deep sleep, has to recall and say, or in vichara, in dhyana, he should come across the phase where the names and forms has become a blank. And when the names and forms has become a blank and he is still conscious of it, then he has brought the deep sleep into the waking state. The sushupti, where names and forms are all removed and only pure consciousness is felt, is brought into the Jagrat Avastha, and one is perceiving directly the deep sleep. Can that pure deep sleep which is perceived, can it exist without a perceiver? No. Therefore, even that deep sleep which is brought into Jagrat, the blank which is seen by many sadhakas mentioned in the talks, that cannot exist without a perceiver. So the waking, dream and deep sleep have to be taken as a dream, as one dream of that one consciousness, and it has to be put aside. Then what should we meditate on? If we put aside the whole world of names and forms like that it is nothing but a dream, by applying the test, can it exist apart from me? That's what we do in the Atma Vicharam. Whenever we see an objective thought, we can it exist apart from me? No. I have to exist as a prior thought to that. Therefore, what is the source of that thought? The source of that thought is me. So for whom is this thought takes us to the perceiver. And relentlessly holding the perceiver, that is the meditate on the blissful reality, takes us to the reality, the I, which was mentioned as the existence consciousness, which is existing and shining uninterruptedly in the heart. To that reality, one is taken, one should meditate on. Meditate on that blissful reality. Why it is blissful? We may have experienced some thought which we like in the waking state or in the dream. We also experience bliss in deep sleep. But these are temporary, ashashvatam, phalam ashashvatam. Any object in the waking state ends off definitely with the waking state. Dream state, of course, the objective pleasure ends off with that. The deep sleep, though it is without the mind, since the ego is still persisting and all the vasanas are still there, one goes into deep sleep unawares and comes out of deep sleep unawares. Therefore, that deep sleep ananda is also temporary. Only the happiness of the reality, the Atma Tattva which is held, is real bliss. So meditate on the blissful reality, the form of consciousness. What is the nature of the reality? The nature of reality is fullness of consciousness, perfect consciousness, consciousness that is real. What is real consciousness? The consciousness that is aware of its eternal existence. So that self-awareness or self-attention, let anything exist. Can it exist apart from me? No. Therefore, who am I? That attention which is self-aware is real bliss, is the real form of consciousness. Therefore, these real bliss or blissful reality and the form of consciousness, the purity of consciousness should be held, should be meditated on, leaving the world of names and forms, which is nothing but a dream. The world of names and forms is nothing but a dream. Therefore, one has to let it go, turn the attention on oneself, the reality, the blissful reality, which is of the nature of pure consciousness, which should be the object of meditation according to this definitive advice. The subheading is clear instruction. The clear instruction given to us is the sayujyate, the union with Brahman. How is it to be pursued? Let go of the world of names and forms which cannot exist apart from the perceiver as nothing but a dream. Turn the attention on oneself with who am I, and merge into that blissful reality, the Brahman. Kevalam Brahma Matram. Aham iti sakshat Atma Rupena Bhati. In the heart, Kevalam. The Brahman alone is. There is no name and form. There is no perceiver. There is no division between perceiver and names and forms. There is only Kevalam Brahma Matram. Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram. In the heart center, the Brahman alone shines. How it shines? Aham iti sakshat Atma Rupena Bhati. That is the blissful reality of the nature of consciousness, which should be our meditation and which should be to the exclusion of the world of names and forms, is the clear advice given here. The sayujyam or the oneness with the Brahman is possible. We cannot see the snake as well as see the rope. If you see the snake, that the perceiver and perceived division is real, then we cannot see the ekam sat. We cannot see the blissful reality or the pure form of consciousness. Therefore, this apparent division as the perceiver and perceived has to be dropped, and one has to hold the eye till this purana which we saw in the previous verse is experienced. That is real bliss, that is real consciousness, that is Satchitananda. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in practice for 10 minutes. David, for us?
Yes, Uncle.
Bhagavate Shri Ramana Namo Ramana. I request Venkatesh ji to give us the summing up remarks. Namo Ramana, sir.
Namo Ramana. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Dhyanamulam Gurur Murtihi, Puja Mulam Gurur Padam, Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam, Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa. Ramana, we're doing Manana on two interesting verses. One is, the first was the 644, Swarupa. It's a beautiful thing. Swarupa is who we really are, and Swarupa Swa means us, Rupa means who we really are. Now, where are we looking for this Swarupa? Let's ask this question. If you ask this question, we suddenly realize, we are looking for this Rupa everywhere else, apart from where we actually have to look for it. So that's what this verse is saying, that Suttaribu. So we are actually moving around this whole universe trying to find our Swarupa. It's like that lady who had a necklace on her neck, and she had forgotten it was on her neck, and she was searching for it everywhere else, till somebody told her, you have the necklace on your neck. And then she felt it and said, oh yes, it is actually on my neck. So the important thing really Bhagavan is trying to tell us here is that we have to, instead of looking for it outside, we have to look for it inside. But there's another very interesting thing that is mentioned in this verse, is this point of lost in the play of Maya. Now, all of us, most of us, if you ask where is Maya, it says Maya is outside me. All this world is all Maya. I am real. Venkatesh is real, but this whole names and forms is Maya. So, but what Bhagavan is trying to tell us is, even if this Maya is not even outside, this Maya is also inside. See, we have these three bodies. We have this gross body, we have this subtle body, and we have this causal body. And we don't inquire whether these are real or not. We always inquire outside. So that's what Bhagavan says. Swarupa, even when you're inquiring, it's important to inquire about these bodies also and find out if they're real or not. Because when we are sitting in satsang, the important thing that we are trying to do here is trying to understand the truth. So the purpose of human life is to realize who we are. We all understand that very clearly. But what is that truth is what is being spoken about. So here, what we do is, we actually, if you look at our whole day, look at the experiences we have. We either have a waking state, or we have a dream state, or we have a deep sleep. But we are present in all those three states. We are present in the waking, we are present in the deep sleep, we are present in the dreamer. So there is something that is, waking comes and waking will go. Dream will come, dream will go. And deep sleep will come, deep sleep will go. But there is something that is present all through. So that's what Bhagavan is trying to say here, that those who do not clearly realize the subtle attention, if you are not gone inwards and try to understand who you really are, find the knower, find the seer, find the taster, find the smeller. Now, we have never gone and said, who's actually smelling? We think, this nose actually is smelling. Oh, this nose is smelling. Oh, so even if I am not able to smell, this is because of this nose not able to smell. But actually, there is a consciousness within who is making this nose smell or this eyes being able to see. Why? Why? Because if I pull out this eyes and keep it on the table, it just cannot see. It is able to see because of the consciousness. So all the great ones are trying to say that all this phenomena that's happening is because of you, the consciousness. So that's what is being trying to, which is so. But most people, what they say, I want to understand about the world. I do not want to understand about myself. I want to correct the whole world. I don't want, but the great ones say, correct yourself, find out who you are. So once you understand who you are, then you will understand the reality of everything. Then you stop loitering around. So you miss loitering aimlessly. Like if you want to go from here, if you reach a intersection, there are four roads. If you do not know where you're going, you can take any road and it will take you somewhere. It's like literally like that. You will be loitering around, saying that I do not know why I'm going where I'm going. So, but if you understand it, if you subtly go inwards and try to understand, oh, how is this happening? How is this food I eat gets digested? How am I able to see? There is a light that is making it happen. There is this consciousness that's making it happen. Have I ever inquired into this? See, the important thing about the world is we're able to hold on to it. We're able to hold on to a book. We're able to hold on to a pencil. Able to hold on to something, and we think, oh, we possess it. But inside there's nothing to hold on. It's so subtle and so subtle. It gets subtler and subtler and subtler that you cannot hold it. There's nothing to catch it. So, but that is what actually runs this whole perceiver that who perceive this whole nama rupa is because of that consciousness. So important thing is we need to in our journey we need to be very clear that it is Maya is not only outside, Maya is also inside. We have to go inwards and inward. It's a journey. You have to hold the breath, like in that Eka Shloki, Bhagavan says, hold the breath and dive deep within and be abiding in the self. Why? When you go into the hold the breath, you are actually holding the mind. And when you're holding the mind, because the source of the breath and the source of the mind is the same, you keep diving within and then you realize who you really are. And you are that Satchidananda Atman, you are that Brahman, you are that consciousness, you are that silence which is there across all the three states. Once you understand your Swarupa and you understand that that's where I should be looking where? Detached from the world, attached to the self. Detached from the world, attached to the self. Mind will always take, by Bhagavan, when God made a human being, he put a little extra rajas into each one of us. Because of the rajas, we are always bahirmukha. We are not antarmukha at all. But we have to make a 180 degrees turn and go within. And then once you go in within, you experience the self. So this is beautifully being talked about in the 644. In 293, it's a similar thing. Bhagavan says, it talks about the names and forms and it being a dream. Why? See, if you go into a theater and if you example is beautifully given, a son and a father. The father says, come son, I'll take you to a movie today. Okay, let's go and see that. So he says, okay, but by the time they reach the theater and they get in, the movie is already started. So the both of them go and sit on the chair and then they start asking. Son starts asking, where is the screen? Oh, this screen. Oh, it's that hero you see. No, it's behind that. And behind that I can see a car. Is that the screen? No. Behind that is the trees. Is that the screen? No. So he goes on and on because he can't see the screen. He sees the movie that's playing on. But suddenly intermission happens. Intermission means the interval happens. And suddenly the lights go off, come on, and then he's able to see the screen. Then what happens to all the pictures? The pictures just vanish. And then the father says, hey, do you see the screen now? He said, yes. Unless all these pictures that are going on in our mind, unless they quieten, then only you are able to see the screen. It's like the projector. If the projector is projecting a light onto the screen, if there is no film playing, then what happens? There are no images that are falling on the screen, but are that the film is like our vasanas. Film is like our desires. They are a film that is playing out. When the film comes on top of the light, what happens? It projects the film, and then the world is seen by us, and then we see we think that all this that we are seeing is actually real, but it is only our vasanas that are actually projecting outwards. You sit down, you're sitting in a bus stand waiting for nobody. There'll be thousands of people going up in front of you. You will not care to see any one of them. But suddenly, if it's a situation where your wife is coming and you're waiting for your wife in the bus stand, every lady that comes, you will be saying, is this my wife? Is this my wife? Is this my wife? Why? Because what's in your mind? The thing that my wife is coming. You have a thought of that, because of which there is a thought that my wife will be coming. No. So Bhagavan says that if this antarkarana shuddhi happens, if you go inwards and inquire who am I, and you do a cleansing process, Swami Shivananda says, serve, love, give, purify. All sadhana, karma, bhakti, jnana, raja, yoga is all for purification. Antarkarana shuddhi. If you more and more you purify, then what happens? Then you can meditate and then realize. So, important thing we need to understand is that if more and more we go inwards and purify, this film that is playing in front of the projector starts vanishing. So then you'll find, imagine, I remember olden days when we used to go and see a movie, there will be a picture which comes, after that there will be a white light, and then another picture will come and a white light. So it is exactly that's the same thing happens, that there will be vasanas playing out and there will be silence. There'll be vasanas playing out, there'll be silence. So Bhagavan says, hold on to the silence, hold on to that interval between two thoughts, hold on to the interval between two breaths, and then what happens? You will go quieter and quieter and quieter. Once you go inwards, quieter and quieter, what happens to this dream? This world of names and forms also will become quieter and quieter and quieter. So imagine a drunkard. If a drunkard is there, if he's given a couple of drinks, what happens to the world? He is enjoying life. Nothing bothers him. Even if he's sleeping on the road, nothing bothers him. Why? Because the world has gone shut. Because his mind has gone shut. So this is the important thing that we need to understand. But that's an induced happiness, induced pleasure. For us, we have to go to an eternal happiness where everything is full. There's Purnamada, Purnamidam. Everything is full. Once we are in that fullness, then you will experience only great joy. And that's what Bhagavan is trying to tell in this thing, is that resolving the names and forms. And when you really go inwards, then only you'll be able to resolve the truth, what is Sat and what is Asat. That's why the human beings have been given Viveka and Vairagya for this reason, to be able to understand what is Sat and Asat. Once we resolve, we are abiding in the self, we are fearless and free, and we are always abiding in Bhagavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Namo.
Namo Ramana sir. Thank you very much. Namo Ramana Vaibhavji. Can we start the chanting?
Yes. Namo Ramana. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। ॐ महासेन महोंशेन जाताय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः। ॐ गुरवे नमः। ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः। ॐ महौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपःक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजितचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्री शोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेश्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋच्चान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणात् बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगभिषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवश स्तादात्म्यभावं गतः वृन्निष्ठस्व गभीर नित्य तपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तर ज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संघिये सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಗೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡು ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ बोलो भगवान भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।
ನಮೋ ರಮಣ ಅಕ್ಕ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮೋ ರಮಣ.